Welcome to a brand new episode of GydeBites. I'm Prasanna, your host. Every major technology eventually becomes accessible to everyone. AI will be no different. The models will improve, the tools will become cheaper, and before long, everyone will have access to similar capabilities, hopefully. So, where will be the competitive advantage come from? Because everything will start to converge, everything will start to sound same. But we believe it will come from intelligence that's shaped by proprietary data, domain expertise, business processes, and years of organizational domain knowledge. That's exactly what we are going to talk about today. And to do that, we have Evan Reich. He's a Chief Product Officer and Head of AI at BWG Global. He has over 25 years of experience to lead the data strategy, lead product innovations across financial services industries. His expertise span data engineering, alternative data, investment intelligence, and applied AI. Ivan, welcome to GydeBites. Great to have you.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here. It's always fun to talk about topics like this. So it's great.
All right. So let's get going, Ivan, real quick. So for our audience, right? So what is proprietary intelligence and why it is becoming more important than generic AI?
Yeah. When I think about AI, AI is an extremely detail oriented machine that has no wisdom and it has no common sense and it has no judgment of its own other than what we, the users, choose to give it. And so proprietary intelligence is that particular combination of like the data and the context and the reasoning that only a knowledgeable individual and organization can produce. It's the insight that you get from like specific inputs with domain judgment that others can't replicate from calling the same API or pulling the same files or whatever it is, because it's the thing that only you have. And that's the wisdom and the intelligence that you need to put into it. So the foundation models, and this is kind of what you were saying in the intro, they're increasingly commoditized. Everybody can access the same reasoning at roughly the same price. And the gaps between the models keep shrinking, again, at a given price point, because like it does seem like the expense thing is becoming way more something people are talking about. But everything else on top of that is the differentiator. So like if you take AI and put it on top of public data, that's just what consensus is. Like it's just like, here's the thing that everybody can do and you can get it and everyone's got it. And so proprietary intelligence is what lets you create idiosyncratic answers. And in my business, that means like alpha or value or whatever it is you're creating. But that idiosyncrasy is the thing you're leaning into. With the combination of proprietary data, proprietary questioning, and insight on top of that, derived from some kind of domain expertise that you really need. You need good information and you need smart humans, ideally, who know what to do with it. You want to build a system that lets them harness and build and really enhance their knowledge, but it comes from the domain knowledge that your people in your organization possess. That's the important part.
Yeah, I think every organization has a way of working. That's why they exist because of.
You hope, right? You'd hope that not everybody does, and I think that's the key bit. And I think like as we get into it a little, the key thing is like you have to be very honest about like what is the thing that you do well that you're good at, that's your point of view, and you have to want to express that. Like there's so many people where it's just like, here's the thing that everyone has one of these, we should have one of these, and it's like if you don't have a point of view, like. What does proprietary mean to you?
I know. So, Evan, this sounds like a challenging task, right? I mean, to create these kind of systems, what do you see are common challenges to create or build such systems?
Yeah. I think the thing that bothers me the most is people talk about AI ready data and they're like, it's AI ready data, which is a totally nonsense term. It's used by people who haven't spent a lot of time around data systematically before. And when they say that, usually what they really mean is just clean, usable data. And it's just like, I didn't know I had to clean it. I didn't load it into a systematized process before. And so I didn't know that it had to be like this. And in the hedge fund business where I've been for many years, like that's always been the thing. So the only difference is that with AI, as we sort of said before, because it's a machine that doesn't have wisdom, common sense, judgment, we need to make sure that the implicit is made explicit, because the person doing the implementing with AI, which is to say the AI itself, sometimes acts like a total moron, which is like really kind of the thing you want all the time, because you never want there to be sort of a question. If you're going to use it systematically, you want to make these things explicit. So the biggest challenge is like you need explicit metadata, labels, timestamps, context. that's not always something that's been there. And like, again, if you've ever dealt with like junior people that are new to data, they've always kind of dealt with that. And so it's like, how do you make sure you're making it really clear? Because again, it's the most junior thing. It's this AI system that doesn't know anything. So it's, how do you make sure that everything is really explicit? And you have to really be careful about it, because as people, we fill in gaps, and it's like, but are they there? And if you've ever talked to, again, like the people that are like, younger than you in an organization, you're like, how did you not know that? It's like, yeah, well, lots of things don't know that. It's why you should always do that for any information, but any system that does that. I think the other challenges in building it that come up a lot with AI in particular is like the licensing and rights question. Like, so many people are really scared about where their IP is going. Like, is it getting picked up intentionally or not by the system, and them getting disintermediated? So like, you do need to make sure that that's in place sort of uniquely for that problem, to make sure, like, am I using this in the right way? How do you protect that? That's something we're trying to work through as creators of useful information, to say, how do you make this as accessible as possible in the best way possible? Because this is where everybody wants to go, but you really have to facilitate that. And not everybody's comfortable with trying to facilitate it, because it is the new and it's the scary and whatever. I think the last thing in building it is organizational. The people using these systems are often not the ones building pieces of it. Actually, a friend of mine texted me yesterday, and he was like, oh man, I'm working at this place, and the users just want results now. They don't really care how the architecture comes together. They just want it to work. And I was like, dude, life's rough. But that's historically been fine. In the past, we were like, I want access to something, build it however you need to build it to get me there. But since we're talking about proprietary intelligence, and there's intelligence in the system, the architecture needs context and reasoning, you kind of can't just be like, just give me the thing, because there's actual intent that you're building some of these things with. And that's new. It's not just like a delivery mechanism. It's got some views built into it. And so you need either technologists who understand the business, or you need end users who understand technology. And that's still not something that everybody has. Like those people are still few and far between that can really move between those spaces. And as the system does more and more, all you run the risk of is like, it's going to take whatever these decisions that somebody got baked in there, and it's going to make bad decisions like much faster than before. Like, oh, you're going to like have a super powered machine for making bad decisions at speed, which is exactly what nobody ever wanted to build. So, I think those are the biggest problems.
Yeah, I'm going a little off topic here, Ivan. So, do you believe people are worried because, or even the leadership is worried because they feel that if the data goes out, then they are sort of making their USPs go out in a way, or making their trade secrets go out? Is that the worry that you see in the market?
I think the real worry that you see is that people just like, they fear the unknown. And so they're just like, this is new. We haven't figured it out yet. We'd rather wait, because like, we don't really know how this is going. But there's people that, to be honest, do have legitimate fears. And that, as we sort of said, like, like AI being this incredibly detail oriented thing, if you can take everything in with a lot of detail, there's meaning you can extract from it and connections you can pull that are implicit, that aren't necessarily obvious. And that's what it's really good at. And I think the challenge is like, if you have IP baked into, like if you take any set of systems and you're like, hey, give me all the history of that thing ever because I subscribe to it, I should get the history, and that's normal. And you take that and you're like, think about whatever could have happened here, and here's all this public information that, you can use to figure it out. Can you test everything and effectively extract whatever transformations are happening here? And by the way, keep testing until tomorrow you can generate the results before tomorrow's results come out from the public data. And at that point, it's like, I guess you've learned the secret thing. And historically, there have been a lot of really good businesses that's kind of been their IP. That's their thing. And now those people, again, not necessarily people are intending to do this, but some might, but it may be even unintentional, that it's like, what if you're extracting that, and like, how do you protect IP in that situation? And that's a real question. That's the real concern for people of like, is my IP so differentiated in the world of today because I built it in the world of yesterday or the world of like way back? How does it sit in this, and where does that go? And is my point of view, is my organizational value something that really is of significant meaning in this place? Or was it just like, I did simple things, but a lot of them quickly? And that's what AI does really well. It's 1,000 robot monkeys that can do a lot of simple things. And so, like, can the 1,000 robot monkeys, like, if you do enough simple things, is it like, was that really the thing all along? Which had a ton of value again yesterday, where getting 1,000 monkeys was like hard to get your hands on. But now that we have infinite monkeys, the problems change how they look. And you got to really say, like, like, what value am I adding? What is the situation here? And that's a really big change. Like that is, I think, the biggest change. And it's
Yeah,
really had to rethink how we think about a lot of work.
yeah, that's true. And that's that everyone can feel at their own workplaces and so on. Uh, Even coming back to building these, right? Building these proprietary intelligence systems. Are we at a stage where we can say that these are the few essential building blocks to go about building this?
I think we can. I think it's like gotten to a reasonably mature place. So when I think about it, I think there's like, I guess it's maybe like 5 layers probably. So like at the
Mhm.
bottom, you've got data. Like you've got like the core thing. Like Cuban said, always, like data's the new oil. Data's this, data's that. It's like, yeah, this one though, I think you kind of have to mean it. Is like, this is the thing that goes in. It's always been the input, but people were always kind of like, well, but I'm thinking about it. And here it's like, it's happening in a box. It's the input. So good verifiable information from a repeatable, reliable place, and with clean deterministic checks to determine that it's where it needs to be going forward. And that's where it gets interesting, because that deterministic checking where it's like, hey, make sure this is valid, like that's going to be sort of where this kind of goes as you build up these layers. So then on top of that, you've got structure, which is like the schemas and identifiers and timestamping and versioning and more checking and all that kind of stuff. That's always been the thing that turns raw information into usable data. That's the difference between like, I got a pile of crap and I have a useful pile of crap, or at least a usable pile of crap. Then you have a set of graphs and ontology, and that links everything together in a useful way, and ideally all the useful ways. And
Like the
that's where I think,
taxonomy, basically. The
sorry?
interconnected taxonomy, you mean?
Yeah. But it's the taxonomy between things. And I think that's where it gets really interesting, because that's where you start getting a domain view of like the data's what it is. But as that linking is like, are you linking it from the point of view of an investor, of a product person, of a marketing, like that set of connections becomes very specific to the space you're in. Although increasingly you look at like prediction markets and things like that, like maybe you want to link everything. Just like everything is like everything is now an investable. Like everything is the story. So then on top of that is the reasoning layer where the foundation model comes in. And then you've got harnesses on top of it to keep the reasoning bounded so you can do something useful with it. I think the part that's really important though is that people only see like the part on top of the harness consistently. That's where people sit and live. And so you have to surface all the issues from all the prior layers to make sure that the mistakes aren't being invisibly propagated through all these layers and the person's just getting hit with them and they may not see them there. And the part about it is what we've just described is basically a basic quant investing process. It's a basic, like any kind of like systematic process. That's what, like, so as a concrete example, with our quant data set that we built, that's what we made. It's like primary research that's verifiable at the bottom, a bunch of schemas and identifiers on top of that, a partner's knowledge graph linking this conversation that people are having that's thematic to hundreds of names that people wouldn't have logically connected otherwise. So that way they can use their reasoning and the reasoning of the thing to then put the actual intelligence on top of that. But it's that, how do you link that in a unique way? And the difference, again, is a part that where it matters is that this is all getting used and used best, not by quants, not by systematic people. And that's where they don't necessarily see that. So in the building of it, you have to build in these quantitative checks because the end users aren't people that are used to that. So it's like, congratulations, fundamental users. You're all cyborgs now. You didn't know it, but you're actually half a robot. What a surprise. And like, it's not how people think about it because they're like, I'm doing the thing I've always done. But it's like, yeah, at the end, but all these parts beforehand, like you're not seeing them in the granularity. You didn't build it deterministically. So you do have to have these checking and things going on because if the robot's not there as half of what you're doing, you're missing out and you don't know what you're missing out on.
Yeah,
That's the biggest challenge.
yeah. I know. And how do you sort of see that you touch base a little bit around how do you govern and everything, but how do you make sure that the systems that you're building, they are actually accurate and competitive as because the underlying technology is evolving so fast that today it's Fable 5, tomorrow it's going to be GPT 5.6 and so on and so forth. So how do you make sure that the systems that you are building internally, they are one most important, accurate, and they are competitive?
Yeah. So, I mean, like, really, the levels under the reasoning layer, the data, the structure, the graph, all that stuff, that can't be replicated out of thin air by a model. Like, you can't just be like, go make this stuff. Like, it would just hallucinate all of it. It doesn't have the information to do that. So, making those layers as good as possible really outlives any model evolution. It's like, this is what you need to make it work. Even if AI turns into a killer robot from the future, it still needs like the core information and the connections to know who John Connor is, where to find
Yes.
him, and where to go procure, whatever, a 45 long slide with laser sighting to go track him down. No, wait, that was Sarah Connor. Sorry, wrong movie. Anyway, as the AI evolves, it's going to make the insights present more valuable as it goes deeper into those connections and extracts deeper insights. And so what the end users need to do is they need to rigorously test against the ground truth of it. They need to make use of industry expertise, their domain knowledge to say, like, is this whole thing drifting because core stuff we built it on, the invisible assumptions that are in there that we didn't even realize? Like, what if they're not true? What if there's been a regime change? What if the facts change, but we're not capturing it? Also, as the systems get better, the granularity keeps getting higher because you can dig deeper and the velocity of it becomes greater. So the data has to keep up in speed to compensate. So you have to keep checking on that. So you need more granular domain knowledge to validate against. And that kind of improvement's expensive. So you kind of have to make continuous improvement against it to make sure that you keep extracting greater benefits as you go. That's you just have to keep working on that to make sure that's working.
Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense. All right, so let's move on to the next segment, Ivan. So we always ask our guests to leave one piece of practical advice to our listeners. So what would you like to share if someone is trying to build their own proprietary intelligence systems? What would you advise them?
I mean, I'd say like, and I've been saying this to a lot of people lately, especially younger people actually that are newer to this. They're like, in everything you do with AI all the time, think of the part of the system that when you ask AI, it's really bad at that thing. Like, that's the only thing you as people should be doing all the time. That's the part where, like, due to whether it's like because of like there's intersectionality or inference or just lack of data, AI doesn't know what you as like good people and good organizations know. And if you can't do something better than the AI is doing it, you shouldn't be doing it at all. So it's like, hopefully it's the part of what you're doing you like doing. Hopefully it's the part that like uses your brain and you're like, this is my creativity and my intuition and my thought, whatever. But that's all the people should be doing. And you should be outsourcing the rest to like this, good high level of performance where it's like, do everything else so I can just do the part where I'm adding real value. And that'd be my tip for anything with using these tools.
Wow. So always go with a mindset that AI doesn't know this thing, and you are trying to guide AI to the desired
Well, that's what
output.
you kind of find out. I mean, again, it's like for the things that I do, where it's like understanding data and how to use it and whatever. You don't see all of the data that's there, but you sort of intuit it. You then have
Yeah,
to say, like, how do I apply this and what's the art of the possible of where it can go? There's not, you can't really get all that information present in the system to be like, AI, if it had all the facts, you could figure it out, but all those facts aren't knowable at any moment in time. And
yeah,
that jump of intuition, that's the thing that is people we're bringing that, like, there's just not enough data for the AI to get good at that. And so that's kind of where it's like, you want to harness that. And if you're spending your time like, I'm checking for detailed errors, it's like, dude, AI is amazing at checking for detailed errors. Why would you do that? It reads page 80 the same as page 1 and doesn't get tired. And if you've ever read like an essay your kid wrote, like by page 3, you're not really reading all the details anymore because you're a human being. And so like that's how you leverage those things to get the best out of both halves, really. And use your creativity where you can be creative and use AI to be really diligent. So
yeah, makes sense. Let's move on. Before we wrap up, it's like a short rapid fire round that just say one word or one sentence that comes to your mind. Are you ready?
yeah, absolutely.
All right. So one sign that a company is ready to build their own intelligence systems.
You have to have a baseline of information that actually says something distinct and users who know what to do with it. If you don't have that, then you're not ready. You just don't have something to say.
Okay. One capability that every system should deliver or should have.
Outputs that mean the same thing every time. If you have to recalibrate it, it's just not useful. It's not actionable.
Okay. One mistake that people are making while building such systems.
I think it's what we said earlier. It's building it without their own point of view, which is the whole point. If you have a generic system with a proprietary label, that's not anything.
Okay. And what would be the success for such a system, according to you?
An increase in the output of your analysts or your people without a drop in the overall batting average of your quality in doing so.
Okay. All right. So that was it. Great answers, Evan. Thank you so much. And I think that's where we conclude our today's podcast. So thank you so much for sharing these insights with us. And what we are saying here is, if you have a point of view, then you can go on and build your proprietary intelligence systems. And for that, you will need a lot of layers that Evan talked about. You will need right data, you will need proper taxonomy, you will need proper connections between the data, you will need harnesses and so on and so forth. Thank you so much, Evan.
Thank you.
All right. And to everyone who is listening, if you find this discussion valuable, please share this episode with your colleagues, with your friends, your network, and I will see you in the next one. Thank you.